Today, we're unpacking a really fascinating paradigm shift in wealth structuring, and it's designed by a group known as the Wealth Architects. We're going to look specifically at a super relevant topic right now: how smart Nigerians are accessing capital and building true wealth without having to sell off their hard-earned assets. It's a completely different way to approach finance, and honestly, it's built for those who understand that having the right structure can literally change everything. So let's dive right into the core thesis here. There's this quote: "In today's environment, vision and potential are not enough if your capital cannot move with you." And man, isn't that the truth? We're operating in a really fast-moving economy where just holding on to assets, it's simply no longer enough. You could have the best commercial vision in the world. You might spot the absolute perfect market gap, but if your capital is locked up and totally inflexible, all that potential just sits there unrealized. Vision absolutely needs velocity. Which brings us to the ultimate question, doesn't it? How do you actually access the liquidity you need to scale without liquidating the assets you've spent years building? Just pause for a second and let that universal frustration sink in. You spend years, maybe decades, building a robust portfolio. Maybe it's in real estate, maybe it's a driving business, but then boom, a sudden high-value opportunity pops up and you realize you're asset-rich but cash-poor. The traditional answer is always to sell. But selling means giving up your future upside and totally disrupting your long-term position. There has to be a smarter way, right?
Okay, moving into section 1, the capital bottleneck, limits of the traditional system.
Look, let's be real. The traditional financial system simply wasn't designed for the speed of modern opportunity. Whether you're a business owner trying to expand or a commercial operator in a fast-paced market like Abuja, you are actively being hindered by lengthy approvals, super rigid banking requirements, and delayed decisions. In a world where timing literally determines your profit margin, waiting weeks for capital approval means you probably already lost the deal. So let's talk about the solution in Section 2, a smarter structure, the insider advantage. There is such a clear contrast here. It really comes down to what you get to retain versus what you get to entirely avoid. With this structure, you retain full ownership of your underlying assets, complete control over your timing, and the flexibility to act instantly when an opportunity hits. On the flip side, you completely avoid those frustrating traditional financing barriers, the dreaded forced liquidation of your holdings, and the stress of making reactive financial decisions under pressure. It's really about the quiet confidence of a smart financial structure compared to the high-stress reactive reality of the traditional system. All right, Section 3, the dual-layer framework, growth and liquidity. So how does this actually work? Well, it boils down to two strategic layers that combine into one incredibly powerful system. You essentially have asset growth happening simultaneously alongside capital access. It's a simple concept for sure, but it is incredibly powerful in execution. You build a strong base, and at the exact same time, you hold the key to unlock its value at a moment's notice. Let's break those layers down into two actionable steps. Layer 1 is working quietly in the background, building your foundation by steadily accumulating Bitcoin through structured guidance. Then, Layer 2 ensures you are never capital constrained by leveraging that exact same Bitcoin as backing to unlock liquidity on demand. You quite literally get to have your cake and eat it too. Let's zoom in on that first part in Section 4, the accumulation layer, structured Bitcoin mining. Now, I know exactly what you might be thinking the second you hear the word mining. You're picturing hot servers, cooling systems, and massive IT headaches, right? Well, actually, scratch that. This specific approach involves absolutely zero technical complexity or operational stress on your end. So why mining? Because it yields predictable, liquid, hard asset rewards. It's a disciplined background accumulation strategy where your entry is calibrated exactly to where you are right now. You just start at your preferred level, and the structure does all the heavy lifting for you. And here is where it gets really amazing. The absolute heartbeat of this entire system is the number 4. Why? Because your earnings in this structure don't compound yearly, or monthly, or even weekly. They compound in cycles every 4 hours. Day and night, completely regardless of short-term market volatility, a structured return mechanism is steadily building up your digital asset position. That relentless consistency is exactly what turns digital activity into a steady, reliable stream of income. Let's bring this into the real world. Section 5, practical application, grounded in reality. This whole thing translates digital accumulation directly into physical, on-the-ground commercial expansion right here in Nigeria. Just imagine spotting a prime piece of real estate or needing an immediate cash injection to capture a brand new market in Abuja. Instead of begging a bank and waiting or selling off your precious assets to raise cash, you just use your accumulated digital backing to access liquidity instantly. You secure the property, you fund the expansion, and guess what? Your original digital asset just keeps compounding in the background.
This right here is exactly how smart Nigerians are making significant commercial moves today. They're funding business expansions and entering major real estate deals with liquidity on demand, all while fiercely protecting their long-term asset base. You can literally execute high-value transactions without ever liquidating your long-term holdings. Ultimately, this is about master-level capital positioning, easily managing your short-term operational needs while aggressively maintaining a strategic, long-term asset base.
Which brings us to the final piece, Section 6, a moment of decision, the timing advantage. It's funny how opportunities like this work. They're almost always overlooked at first, right up until they become widely understood by everyone. But by then, the positioning window has completely closed. The distinction between the people who act and the people who just observe is almost entirely about timing. It is about your willingness to engage and position yourself well before something becomes obvious to everyone else in the market. So I'm going to leave you with a direct challenge to your ambition. The question isn't whether this dual-layer approach has merit. I think that is crystal clear at this point. The real question is, will you explore this now, or are you going to wait until the advantage is absolutely no longer available? Are you ready to step outside that slow traditional system and finally take control of your capital? If you are ready to act, this is a strategy you really must explore in person. The Wealth Architects highly recommend sitting down for a structured conversation at their office in Garki, Abuja, so they can walk you through this step by step. You can also reach out to them directly at +234-701-739-9996 or shoot them an email at thewealtharchitects24@gmail.com. Go ahead and book a conversation, get a super clear walkthrough, and take the necessary steps to properly understand your new capital advantage. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and here's to building wealth much, much smarter. Catch you next time.